All right, so this whole James Comey situation is much bigger than people realize. If you haven't heard, a second indictment just dropped, and a lot of people are just brushing over this like, oh, it's just some political like retribution justice, or on the other side, oh, it's Trump attacking and just some stuff going on, and people are kind of brushing it off. But I think what we are seeing right now is the start of something much bigger, and I want to touch on this topic because I think this is one of the biggest stories that nobody's really talking about. So let's talk about some updates, what Trump has said, what others have said, and what Q has been talking about for a very long time, because it's very, very big. Let me start with a couple of posts. Trump on Truth Social mentioned this. This was a re-truth of somebody else talking about this sort of meme. But in this instance, he's laying out what actually happened. So it says here, I used to think Trump was just a great president, but after watching the media, the FBI, and the entire system unite against one man, I realized something. You don't get attacked like that unless you're a threat. That's when I knew he's the greatest of all time. But look at what he's retweeting here. The media, FBI, and the entire system. So when talking about the FBI, James Comey being the former director of the FBI during Obama's presidency and then a few months into Trump's term. Now, Trump posted this video of Comey when he's on a news broadcast with MSNBC trying to defend his beach walk. Now, this is what people say, oh, it got him indicted and there was some secret code behind that. Not going to get into some of the details here, but he basically says, look, does anybody believe this guy a dirty cop? Now here he's also tweeting a video of him being on another talk show where, again, he's trying to defend himself with this post that, again, got him indicted the first time around. Now listen here to what Kash Patel had to say.
As you heard from the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney, former FBI Director James Comey has now been indicted for 2 felony counts. While many of you may read this indictment and view this matter as a simple investigation, it is the farthest thing from that. Every single investigation this FBI and our partners at the Department of Justice undertake, especially those that involve the threats to harm or hurt or even kill individuals, whether they hold public office or civilians in our country, are met with the same measure of investigative prowess and tools and personnel in partnership with the Department of Justice as anyone else. As the U.S. Attorney indicated, James Comey will be afforded every matter of due process under the United States Constitution. And as the Attorney General indicated, this has been a case that's been investigated over the past 9, 10, 11 months. These cases take time. Our investigators work methodically. They are career agents, career prosecutors who work these matters. They call the balls and strikes in the field as they see fit pursuant to the facts of the case and the law. They took that information and made a presentment to a grand jury, a jury of peers in the district in which the alleged crime took place. And that grand jury spoke, and that grand jury returned a 2-count indictment against James Comey. James Comey allegedly threatened the life of the President of the United States. And as you all now know, shortly after posting that threat, he deleted that threat and then issued an apology. All of that information was presented to the grand jury, and Mr. Comey will have his day in court and his ability to speak to a jury of his peers. Thank you.
Now, that was Kash Patel, but Attorney General Todd Blanche was also part of this. And again, what's interesting is that the media is only covering these 2 felony counts, and of course, what's being shown publicly, optically, Title 18 U.S.C. 871, Title 18 U.S.C. 875, interstate commerce, a threat, as well as just other things that are on the surface sounds like it's not much. Now, listen to what Devin Nunes here had to say a while back about certain related topics.
I'm going to try to get out as much of this information and get it declassified as possible.
So you believe that they raided Mar-a-Lago because they were looking for this? They were looking for the intelligence community assessment, your report on Russia's influence campaign targeting the 2016 presidential election. That's why they raided Mar-a-Lago?
I believe it had to be one of the things that they were looking for. Because, look, that report is pretty damning if people take the time to read it. It's 45 pages. It's spent. We had a dedicated team that spent nearly 2 years down at the CIA looking through this. It was blocked from getting out. And the reason that report is so important, right? That's, let's just dumb it down, simply put. We went through every single piece of intelligence that existed. And if anything, it was clear that if Putin was going to do anything, he probably wanted Hillary Clinton to win. But in fact, if you just apply a little common sense to it, the fact was that nobody around the world thought that President Trump was going to win in 2016. Same with Vladimir Putin. He didn't either. And so when you go through that was the intelligence. Every piece of intelligence that existed we went through it. It's in that report. And what do we know? After all this, after all, Trump and Russia and collusion, the two people that didn't collude? Trump and Russia.
Again, what you got to understand here is that right as Trump was being elected to his first term, Obama, Hillary, and a lot of these guys behind the scenes with the FBI, the three-letter agencies, they were committing treason. And people don't really understand the scope and the nature of this and how it's unfolding and has been unfolding over the last 8+ years. Remember, when Todd Blanche was brought on after Pam Bondi stepped down, this is what he had to say about prosecutions and justice.
What we're doing and what we've been doing for the past 14 months is changing this department. We're no longer, people say the president wants to go after his political enemies. No, the president has said time and time again that he wants justice.
Now, the key thing here is that for the last 14 months, and probably before this, because again, he was part of it as acting or deputy attorney general, he has been working on certain things. There was a delineation of roles with Pam Bondi doing certain things and others doing other things. And now he mentions that this is about justice. This is not about going after political enemies, but again, to prosecute and making sure that the law of the land, the Constitution, and everything is being upheld. Now, I want to quickly go over a couple of posts, especially through Q, and convince you that more is going on and that we have been just watching this movie unfold. That what is being shown at public face value has been simplified so that people can be brought into the fold, have their feet wet, and just kind of understand that more is coming as they try to cope with some of the stuff currently. There are so many posts about Comey being indicted, about panic in D.C., back in 2020 when Comey was posting all kinds of clues and things like that, similar to that beach shell thing. Immediately after, in this example of the rose, Q posts this: justice will be served. And then shows here, paint the roses red, meaning to frantically attempt to cover up a mistake with severe consequences. And then when Comey posted this, so many questions back in 2019, Q posts this exact tweet and the link to it and says, so many questions. Who has full control? These people are stupid. Indictments coming. And if you look at a lot of the Q posts, especially many that talk about the firing or the removal of specific names. Look at this. James Comey, director, fired. Andrew McCabe, deputy director, fired. James Baker, general counsel, fired. And it's so on and so forth. Lisa Page. Many of these names are those that either have committed treason, taken deals, or have called others out. For example, look at this. In post 2230, it says James Baker testifying against Comey. Q. This is post 221 where he mentioned that. And this is what Joe DeGenova, I think he's an attorney and has some official credentials with being inside, says. He says, as I've been saying for 2 years, there's been a brazen plot to illegally exonerate Hillary Clinton in the email case, and then if she had lost, to frame Donald Trump. And that is exactly what these texts are about. Whether or not Mr. Strozak and Lisa Page and others are indicted is certainly a question people can debate. But let me just say, I know there's a grand jury underway. Testimony is being taken about Strozak, Page, McCabe, and others involved in this case. And the reason we know it is that James Baker, the former general counsel of the FBI, as turned state's evidence, is fully cooperating with the inspector general and with federal grand jury. I can assure you, Mr. Comey has been very silent in recent weeks, and the reason is very simple. He knows he's going to be indicted. And then Q mentions panic in D.C. Baker confirmed. Note IG involved. Huber, IG, Horowitz, Storch. The level of detail and some of the clues being dropped about Comey, about the FBI, and all these things are very, very deep. Post 2662, the treachery revealed by Comey, Clapper, and Brennan requires accountability that can only happen through a federal grand jury investigation headed by John Huber, the U.S. attorney in Utah, who has been appointed to investigate the FISA criminality by the Obama FBI and DOJ. Post 2692, talking about, again, all these names being fired, talking about conspiracy, CEO departures, fake news, the swampies being drained, trust the plan, justice. And then again, scrolling down, all these different names having us sort of research this, having real names linked to something. In these meaning chain of command for the FBI, and then other clues about relationships, about other connections, about firings, about many other things happening in some sense before it was to be done. And if you look at previous posts like 4597 referencing older Trump posts back in 2020, look at some of the deltas. Look at what he's implying, Q. And this is where so many of us are getting deltas and clues and drops in the relationships to past posts. But one of the big ones here was 3537, where it says Ray is a sleeper, future marker. And then literally 3 seconds later, Trump posting about, so we catch Obama and Biden, not to even mention the rest of their crew spying on my campaign and nothing happens. I hope not. If it were the other way around, 50 years for treason, never forget. Again, spying on the campaign with the entire FBI crew. This has been a mainstay story for a long time. And he's mentioning nothing happens. But again, Q reassuring many people that justice is coming. And another post that comes to my attention is 1122, trust Sessions, trust Wray, meaning Christopher Wray, trust Canada, trust Horowitz, trust Huber. And this other post, 4918, referencing how the swamp runs deep, sleepers everywhere. Think coats, wheels in motion. This is Q saying this, but saying that Ray is also a sleeper, saying that there are white hat sleepers, and of course, deep state sleepers as well. This is one of the reasons why there's such a systematic attempt to kind of make sure that they get all the T's crossed, the I's dotted, and so many other things happening. It doesn't just work where overnight everybody gets arrested and prosecuted and everything's done. So this is why there's drip, drip, flood. This is why that there's a whole one-time effort. There's one time that they can do all this right, and they're doing it methodically. And there's a reason for all of this, and we have to trust the plan. And as cliche, again, as that sounds. But again, the point that I wanted to make with this video today is that there's such complexity, especially if you study a lot of the Q posts, that more is going on, that more is being inferred. And simply the fact that James Comey has been indicted and we were told this is a clue in and of itself that the White Hats are in control. And even though the public doesn't see, like these big crimes and treason happening, there's a reason it's being done this way. And I wouldn't be surprised that over the next few months and even the next year, this year, that we're going to see more of these indictments. So buckle up and be prepared, because we're going to see a lot of takedowns. We're already seeing kinetic movement with other nations and international takedowns. Iran, all this stuff was actually happening. And now internally, domestically, you're going to see more. I believe it. We're seeing it. And Trump has told this along with the Justice Department, along with the FBI. And this has been a process in the making. So be encouraged. Stay tuned for more. And as always, I want to give attention to my fundraiser. If you guys want to help me out, you guys know I am listener supported. Would love it if you guys can help me reach our goal. The information is down below in the link, givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. Also have PayPal, Zelle, Venmo if you guys want to help me out that way. Alternatively, a like, a subscribe would help, because we're trying to get these views up and have YouTube pay us. So love you guys. More to come. Talk to you guys very soon.